speaking of Owen, let's talk about Chaos Zero Nightmare, shall we? A game I have got nothing but positive things to say about, guys. Right? I adore this game. I think alongside Ark Knights, it's potentially one of the most complex, but in a good way, layered, nuanced gacha game in terms of its combat and gameplay loop. It's fucking great. Like the variability and options and the way you can build characters differently, and then just the gameplay loop itself. It's top tier, in my opinion. Top tier. The story starts off really good, in my opinion. And if you haven't done Renoa's Trauma Code just yet, do that, because I think that's fucking amazing. I really enjoyed that. To the point where, at the end, I'm not going to spoil it because there's multiple endings. I was like, damn, man, I'm getting a little bit choked up with this. I thought it was really well done. The story, apparently, I've just got to where it starts to turn. And I must admit, I do think this game should have gone a lot darker. I do. I think it should have gone a lot darker. Initially, it started off with people thinking it was just about Owen. And if you don't know, he doesn't really cook you out in the game. But there was some subsections of the community that were very annoyed by the fact that the game kind of doesn't revolve around you being orbited by all the waifus and everybody wanting you and you being the absolute Rizzler, and characters kind of actually having some depth to them and interacting kind of probably how they should, in my opinion. But apparently, that's not the entire story. I saw this post yesterday, I think it was, in Reddit, and then Discord told me Breadnew had apparently been doing some investigation and had discovered that things aren't quite as they seem. So let's have a look at this post, and then I think we'll watch the video and see what Breadnew's got to say. Because if you don't know, after all this, the developers have come out, sincerely apologise, and the start of the game's getting rewritten. So there's positives if you want to see the story get darker, I guess, which I do. The worry is, how does that affect the development of the game? Hopefully not in a negative way. And hopefully the developers don't focus too much on small voices, I guess, because they've got something special here. And I really don't want us to lose it. Do you know what I saw some people getting mad about? If you remember, there's a part of the story, right, where the characters tell ya, get to the back, because that little pistol you've got's not really going to do much damage. And some people thought that was an analogy and pointing towards they got little dicks. I was like, bro, I never even considered that when I was playing the game, right? I just thought, we're just not a powerful character. But somebody sat there and went, bro, did they just say I got a small dick? What the fuck? Which I thought was kind of funny. So this is basically just going on with the initial worries, what people thought that's all it was about. But apparently, as I say, it goes a bit beyond that. So let's see what Breadnew's got to say. And see how far and how deep the rabbit hole goes, shall we, guys? All right, if you haven't already, go check out Breadnew. Check it out.
Since you asked for more info regarding the CZN drama in Korea, so if you guys don't know, I'm playing a lot of Chaos Zero Nightmare. I'm really enjoying it. I'm kind of figuring out like what I want to do for guides, but I posted this like a day ago. We were talking about this Reddit thread.
The story in Korea is much different than we got in the end. Okay, small PP behavior. Saying you have a small shooter for real.
This Reddit thread said that there was a developer note apologizing for Owen, and essentially there's a lot of drama in the Korean version of Chaos Zero Nightmare, basically calling for Owen's death. Most people wrote it off as like a lot of sort of Korean incel culture.
True.
I'm half Korean, by the way.
Most of us did, right? Most of us did, but apparently there's more.
I'm not like super involved, but I do know that there is like a lot of how would I say it? It's not like all Koreans are incels, but there's like a pretty big Korean incel culture. Like a lot of people will write it off as like Owen being a male, talking to all these women. But I read this very interesting YouTube comment.
Okay.
I read this very, very interesting YouTube comment. In my experience, Owen doesn't really cuck the player much, even though that's what the Korean fan base is basically accusing Owen of. He doesn't cuck the player much. He doesn't steal the women. He doesn't like go into like, I don't know, wins their heart or whatever. From my experience looking at the story, But apparently, Korean players found out that developers of this game bullied and gaslighted original story writer, made him quit from development. This drama was confirmed by company developer community Blind and story writers co-worker illustrators X, I guess that's their Twitter. Not just that, developers of this game altered original story in a horrible way. Entire story was changed with hatred toward the original story writer.
That's crazy if that's true, right? Like bullied and gaslit the original writer. Because apparently that's true, right? We've got a different writer in the game now, yeah. And I think it is. If like I have got the video saved and watch. If you go back and watch some of the old trailers, it definitely does look like some scenes that was alluded to being much darker than what they were in the game that we got to see. Which for a game like this, I think it's a shame, right? Not everybody wants that. But this game, like, it's this game potentially could be the darkest game in gacha. You know, it starts off freaking hell. One character gets squeezed like a fucking tube of toothpaste, right? And the setting and the environments that you're fighting and the animations are all incredibly dark. Like, the universe has so much potential to have super, super dark storylines. And I think it would be better for it, right? It would definitely be better for it.
They purposely changed the story to make player hate Owen. They purposely changed the story to make Renoa and girl characters hate the player. A lot of the criticism that the Korean players have of the story is that...
Be interesting to see if this is actually true, or is these people just like maybe adding a bit of extra seasoning to what happened? Because if that's true, that's crazy.
The girl characters are kind of not valuing the main character that much, and it seems like they're valuing Owen more. They even changed...
I will say, though, obviously, I haven't finished what's in the story just yet. I've still got a bit to go. But at least in terms of Renoa, to me, it feels like there's a, you know, it feels like there's a connection brewing there and already there, right? Am I tripping? Like, do I find out soon? Am I going to find out soon that's all washed away? Because it feels like there's definitely a connection, you know, between those two characters. Or does Owen come along and straight cook you out? Just come along and smack her ass and like, come on, babe, I'm going back to mine. Maybe, but I felt like that, but I do think it's a lot chirpier in place. And I'm not saying we can't have that, but it does feel overall it's a lot chirpier than it should be.
The catchphrase of game to delete the trace of original story writer. The Korean players found this out by digging alpha builds, screenshots, all new articles, and PV trailers and screenshots.
Really interested to see
now
what
the Korean player community feels
story
pity
actually looks like
for Owen, because Owen was a character designed to be like innocent, not innocent child, but you know, just like innocent. And Renoa was protagonist's true understander who sacrificed her life with her love in the original story, which is what I thought. I think in the story for CZN, Renoa does like a huge, great act of sacrifice for the player. And like is very heavily implied to have a lot of feelings for the player, I thought. Yeah, it was interesting to see like such a disparity between like the fan bases and like their reception of the story. And it seems like the reason why is because the story is different in the Korean version of the game, I guess.
How different,
right?
though? Are we going to get that in this video? Or is it just going to be like certain nouns and, you know, terminology being slightly different? Or is it genuinely a quite different script?
So let's take a look. It says, since you asked for more info, right? This was in response to the comment. I was like, oh yeah, this is wild. I would love to see if anyone has screenshots to put it on the Discord. And someone delivered. Someone delivered. So
the man.
Since you asked for more info regarding the season.
Damn, it looks like bro's got receipts down here.
Season drama in Korea. Frankly, I think the comment that you replied to exaggerates stuff a bit, especially regarding the part about how Smilegate purposefully changed the story to make players hate Owen, or purposefully changed the story to make Renoa and girl characters hate the player. That person had strong emotions, and that is how they see this problem.
Okay, I was going to say, because that did sound a little bit, I'm like, really? I'm not saying that, like, things haven't took a turn and maybe potentially not been what they could have and maybe even have a new writer, but that would be a weird thing for them to do, to, like, what would the self-sabotage in that regard?
Not everyone's view. But the workplace bullying is real. Okay. And this did not go unchecked by the CEO, but he in fact took part in it. And it started a massive wave of refunds for CZN in the Korean server. Starting a bit more.
Oh, damn. That sucks if that's the case. Because, like, it had a really good opening week, right? Within 8 days, it made like 6 million, which is really good. you know, obviously if you counted that for every week, you'd look at like 24, but the first week's going to be front loaded. So 10 to 15 million potentially on the opening month. Pretty good for a title like this. You know, it's not a big action game. So anything over 10 million on the first month is really good.
Then 24 hours ago. In short, this writer called GGD, I don't know, Smilegate? I don't know what GGD is. I guess maybe the writer? Gave up his career as a web novel writer and joined Smilegate. CZN's developer. He was the main scenario writer for CZN, but due to bullying and workplace politics, he and his scenario were dumped and he left the company. This is not absolutely certain, but there's quite good evidence for this. The details are in the slides here. There are also leaked.
Okay then. So like, obviously, it's still wild to think they would purposely do that with a story, but if they really had some kind of, you know, felt some kind of way about this dude, you know, it's not out the realm of possibility that maybe they want to kind of throw shade at them, but it'd be a risky thing to do, right? That would potentially sabotage yourself to, you know, throw rocks at somebody else.
Evidence pointing to what CCN could have been had GGD remained the main scenario writer. Wow. So GGD, this writer that they hit up, was, I guess, a pretty successful web novel writer, joined them, then got ditched. There are also leaked evidence pointing to what CCN could have been. Yeah, I already read that. In my personal opinion, it is much better than what we got now. The Korean scenario or community went absolutely nuts upon learning this. The NTR meme was half a joke, and those who didn't think much of it remained. But upon learning this, the Korean...
All right, so it seems like maybe outside of Korea, we've took a little bit too much with it. We've ran with that a little bit. I think there probably was some people who were genuinely pissed, right? Because we know gacha gamers, right? But damn, have we misunderstood our Korean brothers? Are they out here fighting the good fight, and we just thought they were incels? Are they out here on the vanguard for our stories chat, and we just thought they were weirdos?
Chaos Zero Nightmare community is getting wiped out. Ooh, that does not sound very good, guys. All right, let's take a look. Just a small fraction of all the refunds happening. Yo.
Yeah, people run too much because of language barrier. Yeah. And I think, you know, there's I don't know if stereotypes necessarily the right word, or assumptions of different groups, right? You know, there's the jokes about EN, you know, really not giving a shit and eating up slop, and even if they are angry about something, they'll make a drama about it, but still spend. And CN potentially being a bit wild sometimes, but they vote with a wallet. And, you know, a lot of the times in global, people will make assumptions about JP, you know, actively accepting everything that's thrown at them. And it's not always the case, is it? So, damn, this is actually kind of crazy. Again, I think doesn't Epic 7 make like 50% of its money from the US? But that still doesn't take away from the fact, right, that if this happened and has been happening, is not good. And we definitely don't want to lose the Korean fan base and their input into the game, because it's going to be very important to the game's success as somebody who wants to see it succeed.
Oh, it's almost like they bought to refund. I wonder if that was the case. Wow. So this is all the refunds. There are a lot of wands here. 119,000.
Korean gender war is very real. I guess it was an easy explanation. Yeah.
Wands.
It's like there's probably some truth into some of it, but maybe, like we say, it's been blown out of proportion, and we've kind of just ran with this. Yeah, it's just a bunch of incels mad about getting cooked out. Still kind of funny though.
What is that? $83. Okay, that's crazy. That is EOS territory right there. Like, handling refunds is very expensive. It's not as simple as like giving money back. I don't know exactly how complicated it is, but if it's anything like PayPal,
well, they'll have to deal with all the depending on what system services they're using, they'll have to deal with all the charges, won't they? So they'll actively not just be giving the money back, it'll be costing them to do so as well. Having to refund for a company, companies don't really want to do. That's why a lot of times companies will try their best to work with like, you know, when something gets delivered to you, fucked up companies would rather just send you out another item a lot of the time rather than actually going down the refund route, because it can be incredibly expensive for companies, especially when it's lots of individual small numbers. That can even be worse than just like big ones.
Refunds. Whoever is like the receiver of this money is gonna have to pay through the nose. Okay, hold up. I need to sit up straight for this.
Reborn as Cthulhu,
or GGD, is the author of a once popular serial web novel, Reborn as Cthulhu. It does look like it could be very Chaos Zero Nightmare.
Shit, that first piece of artwork, definitely. Holy shit. Was he? Right? That's like, well, I'd say CZN's become Lord of the Cthulhu coded? Reborn Cthulhu coded, right? Because that's like, that vibe's definitely there.
Nightmare, because it is like, Chaos Zero Nightmare has that kind of Lovecraftian horror element going. So that makes, that kind of lines up, right? That looks kind of sick. His weekly publication stopped around December 2022. The hiatus continues for 1.5 years.
All I'll say, get this bro back in, man. Get this bro back in. Apologize, do whatever it takes.
Serial web novel writers who frequently post weekly, if not multiple times a week. He then hastily finishes up the novel within 2 months, ending it in November 2024. Yikes. Why is this important? What does this have to do with CZN? Post by GGD. Translation. There's been multiple things going on. First of all, I finally got permission to continue serialization of Reborn as Cthulhu, but I do not have much time to write due to work. You may be wondering what kind of work keeps me so busy, and perhaps I may be able to reveal it to you. Not now, but perhaps later this year. There also has been a few unfortunate events. Well, it's better I don't talk about this. This is a sensitive matter to speak out in public, so for now, I will just mention it briefly and delete this post. I don't know what type of, like, publication this is, but it looks like a personal, like, maybe like a YouTube post, and I guess he deletes it soon after. And it does remind me of you, Narukami. Yep. This post is from Blind, which is an anonymous SNS in Korea. Okay, so like, I guess 4chan, but with your phone. But in order to sign up, you must be a confirmed employee of a specific company. Oh, never mind. This post is confirmed to be written by an employee from Smilegate, CZN's developer. Oh, wow. Translation. Why CCN's scenario became so crappy. CCN, previous narrative lead, NL, who now left the company, used to be the previous narrative lead for Epic 7, another game by Smilegate. The NL was initially hired due to having connections with the CEO, but always had conflicts with other employees. For a few years, the CEO somehow held the team together, but NL eventually messed up big, and CEO directed the narrative lead to just write solo. Since the lead no longer directly worked with Epic, Epic's scenario team had no leader, so the producer took charge of the scenario instead. But this caused the Epic scenario team to have conflicts versus the producer. Eventually, everyone from the Epic scenario team, except one person, asked to be moved to the CZN team. Everyone...
So I was saying earlier, you know, we was talking about Enfield, about shit can change just by new people coming to the office, or interpersonal problems and office politics, you know? That's why sometimes products just and services just get worse, because humans are humans, and shit happens, right? And the people who were working on something at once ain't working on it anymore.
From the Epic scenario team, except one,
Chaos Zero Nightmare.
To Chaos Zero Nightmare. Wow. Meanwhile, the lead has another conflict with someone from Epic and decides to just stop writing for Epic. So the CEO persuades the lead and other writers to just finish the current scenario and promises that he will transfer them to Chaos Zero Nightmare if they do so. The CEO then takes down the story
Damn, brother.
written by the previous main scenario writer of Chaos Zero Nightmare.
This person seems like they were obviously a problem, right? Why would you put it on them then?
Presumed to be GGD, who used to be a professional web novel writer in the genre and puts the writers from Epic to renew the story. Oh, wow. Okay. Of course, GGD resists, and a fight breaks out between GGD and the new narrative lead.
It seems like this narrative lead, you know, they say that in life, don't they? You know, when you keep having issues with people, at some point you got to look and be like, am I the problem? Keep getting into spats, arguments. You know, no, one might be well, okay, maybe it was them. Maybe it was both of us. But when it starts happening everywhere, I think you start to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, oh, I think I'm the bad guy here.
Since CEO had connections with narrative lead and already made a promise, they take the side of the narrative lead. The CEO was going to make GGD.
Like, yeah, that is nepotism. Like, because it's like, you know they're a problem yourself because you moved them on. You know they've been causing issues. They then go on to another project, start causing issues where I'm guessing wasn't issues, and you go, yeah, let's stick by this person who's causing us problems. Actually wild. Again, you say this, when it comes to like workplaces sometimes, it's not always about what you know, it's about who you know, right? Some people fail upwards, sometimes because people don't want to get rid of people for whatever reason. And then they're like, we'll put them in a middle management position where they can't fuck shit up. But what they do is they cause problems for everybody else.
Work on character design, but GGD leaves Smilegate to a different anime-style game company as a scenario writer, later presumed to be Blue Archive by Nexon. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, if the writer transferred to Blue Archive and that story is written by him, I don't know if we missed out by that much. I ain't gonna lie. But the writers who came from Epic renew the scenario, but internal reviews are all negative. Okay, wow. The CEO pushes the writers to improve the scenarios, but they give up and resign. The CEO then becomes anxious and just hires random scenario writers, and CZN's scenario becomes crap.
Okay, so we got, again, this narrative lead's a bit of an issue. But man, this is a CEO just fucking up, right? This is somebody not doing their job at management. If this is all true, right? If this is all true, pretty piss poor.
Lol. Okay, resign. I don't think so. He didn't give up his
Look at his latest lack of content to remember Dong's disappeared. I think I agree with that now, actually.
Position, but I guess he gave up on pushing the writers to improve the scenarios. TLDR: the CEO dumped GGD and the scenario he was working on to make space for other writers who have been working for him longer. Right. Interesting.
And I totally get looking after people who've been, because usually when it comes to jobs, last one in's usually the first one out, right? But, you've got to start to notice pattern recognition, especially if you've had the issues yourself directly with individuals, if this is all true, right?
That is a very sad and crappy situation, especially for Epic.
Yeah, sorry,
Why
look,
exactly did they no longer want to work on Epic? Maybe just not enough money in it? Especially it sucks for GGD. I mean, he got shafted. Have you even read Blue Archive's story? Blue Archive? I don't know. Blue Archive might be fine. Story-wise, I'm not like the biggest fan of the character designs, obviously. The writers were the one that resigned. Oh, but they...
I feel like everybody has to say that now. Hey, I ain't got an issue with Blue Archive, but I ain't feeling the characters. Is the FBI watching?
They give up and resign. I see. The writers resigned. I see. Okay. And now he's just scrambling and just throwing a bunch of random scenario writers. I see. So he went to go write for Blue Archive? Yeah. Later presumed to be Blue Archive by Nexon.
I've only played bits of Blue Archive.
This game is also
I haven't
by
really
Nexon,
interacted with the story,
I'm pretty
but
sure, right? Or
I've
at
heard
least
good
published.
things.
More evidence that GGD was bullied in Smilegate. I got a story about
It's peak,
CCN
is he?
scenario
Is it good?
writer.
Oh, is it good, is he?
Pretty good
Okay.
web novel writer in the Cthulhu genre was hired as a scenario writer for CCN, but another writer there, a scenario writer there, became jealous of him and bullied him with office politics. So that scenario writer who wrote good Cthulhu stories quit the project and ran away. And that bully scenario writer, the bully, could not wrap up the scenario and also ran away. So the new writers who came in just tried their best to wrap up the scenario, but the quality is crap, and the word going around is that they're just gonna give up on the scenario. Comment: lol, I know that Cthulhu writer. You talk about that writer who wrote shitty scenarios and was always behind schedule for 1 year, so the CEO dumped him, right? Presumed to be one of the bullies commenting online. This is crazy. It seems
super unprofessional, right? Like, it just seems like there's a lot of fucking what a chaos, right? Apt name. Yeah. It seems like a lot of mismanagement going on, and yeah, the people who should have been managing their workforce seem like they've probably failed at that, right? Because just the way, if true, the staff have been acting as a whole. This is a real shame. And, you know, this is a worry, right? Because how could these... Oh, man. This is the best gacha game of 2025 that's released, in my opinion. This game is fucking amazing. So they've got to get on top of this. It's starting to make sense now. And you start to think that, like, there's got to be some truth to it, right? Because why would they make that big apology, right? It's one thing if they were like, yeah, you know, we're a little bit disappointed with the story direction as well. We're gonna work on things going forward. But their quite drastic move here shows that there's something to this. What that something is, who knows? We don't know who's telling the truth exactly, do we? But there's definitely something to this.
So crazy. I love it. The drama is insane. It's so petty. It's so, like, silly. Now I'm kind of feeling justified in, like, skipping the story.
The real chaos was the employees who met along the way.
For CZN. I was like, after a certain point, I was like, I need to catch up on the gameplay. So I started skipping the story. I did like it in the beginning. Maybe some of it was able to be salvaged for the beginning part. Especially the prologue. It was really good. But, yeah, eventually, yeah. It's literally KR drama. It's insane. Okay, so the writer is being bullied out. We even got, like, possibly an auntie or some the internal bully themselves commenting on these situations. More evidence that CCN's main writer was in fact GGD. We got Blue. I think this look like Blue Archive a little bit. 2020 to 2025 drawing comparison 5 years ago and now. What a coincidence that I drew for the same writer now and 5 years ago. Illustration for Reborn as Cthulhu and illustration for Ichika, character from Blue Archive. They don't look that similar. I guess it's the same illustrator for both. Interesting. Combining all the evidence.
I can't see
GGD, author of Reborn as Cthulhu,
myself.
had to stop writing his serial web novel due to new work and not having permission to have a side hustle. Smilegate CEO hired a certain web novel writer with experience in the Cthulhu genre as CZN's main scenario writer, but due to workplace bullying, this person had his work dumped and taken over by other writers.
I will say as well, because this stream has turned into a bit of a react fest, we will lock in tomorrow, chat, okay? We will lock in this week. Blame Suba, again, I blame Suba.
Who had connections with the CEO. This person then moved to a different anime-style game company. This person posted a tweet, confirmed that GGD is working as a writer for Blue Archive. Oh, okay. Therefore, GGD equals previous CZN main scenario writer. Because of the movement between the companies, it's pretty much practically confirmed. GGD ruined his career as a web novel writer while working as a writer for CZN, but then had his story dumped and was bullied out of the company. It's kind of sad to say he ruined his own career. I mean, honestly, he was kind of like shafted, right? He was approached with a nice, well-paying job, I would imagine. Probably promised steady work pay, right? But then just got all this shit kind of put on him and he had to run away. Is it definitive proof? No, not until we hear anything from GGD. But GGD is silent on this matter right now, not refuting anything. And if this is all a coincidence, it is one damn hell of a coincidence. Yeah.
So we are still working on a lot of assumptions here. It's clear though, assumptions or not, something's happened, right? There's been a narrative change. You can see in the game, and the developers have been very quick to come out to try and quell the fires, which I don't think just some incels mad about getting cooked out over Owen stealing the girls would cause. Now, I'm not saying the developers wouldn't react to that and maybe, like, you know, we'll make some tweaks, but yeah, man, there's the old saying, there's no smoke without fire. Something's happened, right? Whether it's this, who knows? Something's definitely gone on.
No, I'm probably sure he has like NDAs he can't breach or anything like that. This makes a lot of sense for sure. Official PV from CCN published on April, right? 21st, 2024. You can
Is this the PV that me and you were talking about, Easy?
still watch this on YouTube. Translation of some parts. 15th rescue operation failed. No matter how many times we repeat, the singularity does not disappear. Then there must be no meaning to any of this until the 16th rescue operation, 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Some, like, I guess, time singularity, right? Some time travel. That would be kind of cool, for sure. Seems like, I don't know, maybe a hopeless adventure. But I feel like there's not a lot to go off of with just this. Let's see. Selectable first. They are named first because they're the ones
Was this the OG Protoss design?
That lead the crew to move on from 0, despair, to 1, hope, which they do so by going through infinite loops of nightmare that only the first.
All this says to me is that I can skip the story. Yeah, I was thinking that. If we are getting a rewrite, but at the same time, I kind of want to go through it now just so I can compare it when it changes. Do you know what I mean? But like, yeah, I suppose it is that thing, you know, if you're like, well, none of it matters now, so I guess I can just blast through the content and catch up. Because I'm still a little bit behind on the story as well.
Remember, hence the name Chaos Zero Nightmare. Oh, interesting. It kind of reminds me of this one card game I used to play. One anime card game. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Not Tribe 9. Chrono Arc. This one's kind of like Slay the Spire. You do have like a deck and cards that you draw. These are the cards, right? That represent their attacks. And this is kind of similar in the story in that, like, I don't know if it's the player that retains the memories, but they are kind of like looping. Very interesting. So Chaos Zero Nightmare is about looping this nightmare. The skills for first. Return the last card used to its unused state. Repeat this battle. Enter a different area that is not connected to your location. Reroll the dice. I think this is actually pretty similar to what the game has.
So
why are these skills available?
All I'd say though, I'd obviously there needs to be some tweaks, especially to localization. I hope this doesn't bleed into gameplay though. Just stick to the narrative change for me, because in my opinion, gameplay fucking banging. Apart from tweaks here and there, I don't want them going in and start dissecting the gameplay and potentially making it a worse game. I hope they don't do that.
Well, but there's no lore explanation for them. There's not even a tutorial. Some of you might not even know about these skills. True. There is no tutorial for these skills. That is true. Well, it would make perfect sense if the first had the ability to loop back into time. But they did not even bother to make a tutorial introducing these abilities.
I guess that kind of makes sense, though, actually.
Because they do not want to acknowledge the erase scenario. Search Chaos Zero Nightmare sneak peek on YouTube. It has all the unused assets that point to a very different scenario. Interesting. Oh. Had GGD remained the scenario writer for CZN, we would have gotten a cosmic horror time loop RPG, where the first goes through time loops, witnessing all of his crew die and probably, you know, the mind break shit, right? Horribly again and again, but loops back no matter how many times it takes to save them all and achieve a good end. The crew.
So there's part of me like, I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily want that, right? Because it can still be dark, right? But I don't know if I like the idea of just going back to fix things. Like, I want situations where it's fucked. Interesting.
We're all oblivious to this fact, except maybe Renoa, who would be the only one to understand the first suffering.
I suppose in a sense, the form we've got of that now is, you know, the trauma code stuff. Like, I suppose that's kind of, is that like, do you reckon that's like a thing that's hanging on from that? That we don't necessarily go back and fix stuff, but we can go back to things that happen to people and experience it in a different way, because we're kind of, you know, interfering with the memory almost, and it almost creates branching memories for the character.
Instead, we have what we have, which is fairly generic, kind of like a space travel sort of RPG, right? Going from planet to planet. There's like some politics with the Holy Crusaders, right? But definitely this one seems a little more on theme. This one seems pretty cool and very closely tied to the art style and everything about it, I think. TLDR, it's ReZero in a different setting, pretty much. Honestly, I'm loving the story, and who knows if they'll add.
I think I kind of like the new premise maybe a bit more, but just the writing shouldn't have gone in the direction that it started to go in. Because, yeah, I think I like the new premise potentially a little bit better, if I'm honest, rather than going down this time loop thing. Which I haven't got an issue with it, but I don't know if I want it for this game personally. I do kind of like the trauma code stuff, like, and being able to hop into the machine and have it in a pseudo sense in that regard. Because I do like the whole thing with like the Holy Crusaders and all that sort of stuff. I just think this, and I'm okay with light-hearted bits being there. You need it. You need some hope in the darkness. But yeah, stick to being a little bit more, you know, dark, right? I mean, it doesn't mean you can't have the trauma center. I mean, you still have the skills gameplay wise. Well, yeah. You know what I mean? Interesting to see what happens with this rewrite then.
Some of this in the future story too. Yeah, I don't think the story is too bad. Like, I skimmed it, and I'll probably go back to read it. I don't think it's that bad. There's like...
Agree. I don't think it is. I think it just starts to veer in the wrong direction, right? You know? Like I say, that first, especially the prologue's fire. I do admit it starts to maybe curve towards not necessarily the best direction. But, I don't know if a whole premise rewrite is necessary or a whole, like, ripping out of everything. Just, I'll be happy to keep, personally, what we've got, but just, you know, a lot darker and, leaning into that side of things. Really bringing out the cosmic horror.
Some politics with the Holy Crusaders. There's like some sacrifice going on with Judas, right? There's some plot with Lewis. It's not like this type of nightmare loop, which is like pretty cool for sure. And I think it definitely fits more cool with the art style, with the theme of CCN. But I don't think it's like totally shot that we have like a horrible scenario. Moving forward, what CCN would have been had GGD remained the scenario writer. Okay, so we have this article. The game hinted at being a time loop genre where you go back in time to change the ending. This is from a gaming news article introducing CZN. Official Smilegate's introduction in April of 2024. No matter how many times you repeat, the singularity never disappears. From zero.
Okay, so it's pretty clear then that this was definitely the initial choice, I guess.
To one, regardless of how many times we repeat the nightmare. Cosmic Loop RPG, we're Hope and Despair intertwined. Chaos Zero Nightmare coming soon in 2024. No matter your opinion on whether this story currently is good, whether that's like or this story is good, right, or better, what is very clear is that I'm pretty sure we don't get any of this. We don't get repeated nightmares. We don't talk about this 0 to 1. We don't try and go back in time to save people. There's none of that, right? It does seem like...
I think that's where they've implemented it now, yeah. With the system that you hop into. And it makes me worried though, then, is that not... Because I really like that. I was saying that before, you know, we like, when we get events, having trauma code stories separate in events, so we get really cool expansions on characters without the main story necessarily diverting for the banner.
Like the writer, the teaser text, right, that we have for the story have all seemed to be abandoned or just never touched on at all, right? And this is like pretty deep into the story. Usually you want to have like a very good idea of how the story is within the pilot episode, right? Within like the prologue or at least the first chapter. There's none of that.
Trauma codes are going to be untouched. What do you mean? Like, we'll get no more, or like we'll keep getting good trauma codes?
And it does seem like this
might be the longest react slop ever. Rookie numbers.
Some truth to this, in that the original scenario writer has been completely shafted. It does kind of make you wonder though, because these texts, the promotional text, is from April 2024. Maybe
is that part of the rewrite? So that's going to be scrapped, is it?
They just don't care, right? Because it seems like the move was made somewhere in 2022, wasn't it? Or unless it was just picked up recently for Blue Archive. I don't know. Any Blue Archive players? How has the story been recently? Are we getting into like some cosmic horror, sort of Cthulhu Lovecraftian shit? Let me know in the comments, because that would be interesting.
Oh, they're not getting rewritten, you mean? Okay, yeah. We're still going to get additions. Well, we don't know, do we really? That's what I think. That's what I mean, really. It's not so much them being rewritten. Oh man, as long as it comes out all right, okay? Because we've got a good game here, man. We've got a good game. It's just chapter 1 to 5, and then obviously, I'm assuming the direction's going to be shifted from there onwards.
Very interesting to know, because I haven't played that game. I haven't played the story. I'm definitely not catching up on the story. Probably those death scenes you get if you play on Nightmare mode probably would have been in the story. Yeah, maybe. We probably would have had a better story. Well, it definitely would have been a lot edgier It definitely would have been a lot edgier. Personally, I'm okay with the story as is, but at the same time, I have skipped it.
I definitely
have
wanted
skipped
darker.
a lot of
I definitely
chapter
wanted
3 and
darker.
4, so you know it could have been better, perhaps. I like the gameplay a lot, but this is a very amusing story. It sucks for GGD, okay? It does suck for GGD, absolutely.
Sucks for the game?
The evidence seems to be there too. It's very fun, but and hopefully.
Okay, so he's just going out through his guys. Go check out Red New. Damn. Kind of wild situation. Like you guys say, the chaos is the employees we met on the way. Crazy situation, and I hope they manage to land it right. I really do, because this is a game that I've said multiple times I think is 2025's best gacha release. Gameplay wise, amazing. The setting, the premise, I really like it. Again, I do think the story, you can definitely feel it deviated from what its initial roots were. I love Renoa's trauma code. You know, overall, this game is fucking brilliant. So whatever they choose to do, because they're obviously going to be doing something, I just hope they manage to pull it off. You know, I just hope they manage to pull it off, and we come out with a good story, no gameplay changes, which I don't think they're going to do. And yeah, I'll take them 3 pulls though. I'll take them 3 pulls though. But yeah, guys, go check out Red New, the biggest disaster in gacha history. Not quite, but pretty freaking wild one. Pretty wild one, man.